Are helmets even worth running in Escape from Tarkov? Depending on the day, it can feel like they're absolutely necessary because they keep saving you, or it can feel like you just spent hundreds of thousands of rubles on a piece of equipment and then just immediately died or died to a scav. In this video, I want to talk about helmets, if they're worth it, and clear up some things that I think people get wrong about helmets. I'm Jessekazam. Welcome back to another Escape from Tarkov video. I stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey, but with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right in. So some people swear by helmets. They use them every single raid. I oftentimes finding myself using them almost all the time. Some people have been really successful, basically never using helmets or using really cheap ones. I have no skin in the game. The TLDR of the video is that they can absolutely save your life sometimes, but we need to have the right expectation of them. So I've got a bunch of the common helmets in the game here. Helmets basically are functionally just armor, but with one additional characteristic, and that is the Ricochet Chance. So before we dive into the Ricochet Chance, just like a really brief overview of how armor works, because even veteran players still get this wrong all the time. So we have ammunition in the game, like this 5.5A1. This 5.5A1 has properties like penetration, damage, and a bunch of other ones, but this is obviously not an armor video. This is a helmet video, just super simple. This has a penetration value of 45, and then the helmets have an armor value like all other armor. For instance, this one is 4. So then there's all sorts of calculations going on in the background on if this round is going to penetrate the helmet or if it's not going to. What a lot of people kind of do is they oversimplify a very complicated ballistic system, and that is very understandable because it is incredibly complex, like even more complex than most veteran players understand. I don't even understand all of it. So we try to oversimplify it to make sense of it, but sometimes those oversimplifications lead to kind of like misunderstanding. So for instance, 5.5A1 has 45 pen, so you would think it would penetrate class 4 armor all the time. It has a 95% chance to pen class 4 armor, which means 5% of the time it won't. Even taking out the Ricochet Chance of the helmet, 5% of the time it just won't penetrate the helmet. That means these percentages aren't as simple as that means it will always pen class 4 or something will never pen class 4. We have to remember that there's a chance. So you might shoot somebody in the head with this ammo, with this helmet, and not get like the instant kill. It might ricochet. There's a lot of different things. The other thing to note is on something like a class 5 helmet that there is a 38% chance for 5.5A1, a round with 45 pen, to penetrate this helmet. So 38%. That doesn't mean that it will never pen because it doesn't have 50 pen on the round. It means that almost 40% of the time you could get a one tap on somebody wearing an Alton. So that's an important thing to remember, that these are percentages, not binary yes and no. It's not will this pen yes or no never. It's percentages. So we have to remember that with helmets, that's important to take into consideration, because even with something like an Alton, you're still at risk. And then you have to kind of use that to calculate if it's worth spending the money on that for you. Additionally, it's important to note that the helmets are going to be made out of different materials and they will degrade at different rates. But beyond that, the first shot from a round is only really looking at the class of the armor. So that means any class 4 helmet, the ACHHC, the ULAC, the Bastion, the ZSH, the Fast MT, the Airframe, the Wendy, if they're all class 4, then that means that 5.5A1 still has a 95% chance to pen on that first shot. Always. They're all the same for that first shot. And then depending on if it pens or if it doesn't and how much damage is done to the helmet and the material the helmet's made out of, well, that's when, it's going to start changing the percentages from there. But the first shot from a round, if it's class 4, all class 4 armors are the same. If it's class 3, if it's class 5, it's all the same. And then the Ricochet Chance can kind of change that a little bit. And then the last thing to consider when we're talking about helmets before we move on to Ricochet Chance is how many hitboxes there are on somebody's head. So you've got head eyes, you've got head jaws, you've got ears, which is a completely different thing. You've got the top of the head, you've got nape, you've got lower nape now, which is I think a newer thing. So the sheer amount of hitboxes on somebody's face can really make a difference. A ULAC covers your ears and the ACHHC is the same helmet, just not with the ear covering. So the same thing like the Bastion doesn't cover your ears as well. And so this is something to take into account because I've had really good helmets on and gotten, you know, a shotgun pellet to my ear because I was using an ACHC or a Wendy without the ear covers or something like that. It gets complicated. So that all factors into if you want to be spending all this money to cover only like maybe 20 or 15% of the hitboxes on your head. So now we got to talk about the Ricochet Chance, which is basically the only differentiator between this and all other armor. And I'm just going to read an excerpt from the wiki. I'm going to link this wiki page down below. But when it's talking about Ricochet, it says the angles of impact have no effect on armor except for helmets, which bullets can ricochet off of. If a bullet strikes a helmet within a certain range of angles, the round has a chance to ricochet, determined by how shallow the angle is, as well as the ricochet chance of the helmet. The required angles and the ricochet chance is determined by the helmet and is different for each individual helmet. So that to me kind of reads like we don't have math, at least, you know, shown to us as the player, as the difference between high, medium, and low ricochet chance, like how often that is going to ricochet. To me, it makes sense that the differences in high, medium, and low are how shallow the angle has to be to ricochet. Something with high ricochet chance, maybe there's a greater amount of angles that you can get shot at that have that ricochet. It's not just as simple as like 20% of the time a bullet will ricochet. It actually does take into account the angle that the bullet came from. But a lot of people will tell you that this is like one of the most defining characteristics of a helmet because this can absolutely save your life. When you do get a ricochet, basically the helmet takes most of the time the minimum amount of damage possible, which is like 1 damage to the helmet. You maybe have 1 or 2 HP loss from your head. And the thing about Ricochet is that it completely ignores whatever the ammo is. If it hits the right angle and it ricochets, it doesn't matter if it's M993, M61, M995, no matter what ammo it is in the game. If it procs the ricochet, the bullet's just going to ricochet. So that is why helmets kind of like are redeemed. You know what I mean? There's a lot against them. There's all these hitboxes. They can be expensive. There's the armor values are traditionally lower. Something with a high ricochet chance basically gives you the chance to win the lottery and get a free pass on any round shot at you, no matter what it is. And this can dramatically increase your survivability if you get lucky. So we can kind of take a look at some of the most common helmets that are used in game and just kind of briefly break down kind of why. I think if you're using anything of a class 3 helmet or below, we'll get to like the masks in a second, but the SSH is kind of the go-to. It's cheap, it's available at level 1, it's high ricochet chance. Especially even just a few weeks into the wipe, if you're going to be using a class 3 helmet or below, then you really just want that high ricochet chance. The 6B47, I believe, has it as well, but it's more expensive. So if you're going to buy a helmet, you know, buy this, rock it for the ricochet chance. That's really it. I wouldn't go anything below that. There's a lot of class 4 helmets. This is where most of the helmets sit. The ULAC is probably the most common helmet in the game. Definitely the most common without a face shield. You can get these on the flea market. Relatively inexpensive, 40 to 80,000 rubles. You can buy them from level 4 Ragman. The ACHHC is just the ULAC without ear protection. So you can find these cheaper and use these cheaper. You know, it's totally up to you. The Bastion is a similar helmet, you know, great durability and stuff like that. Doesn't cover the ears, class 4. And then a lot of helmets have like additional things you can put on them. This is a class 6 like wrap armor plate you can put on top of the Bastion. It's pretty expensive, but if you find them or if you want to purchase that, now you've got class 6 and class 4, but you still don't have anything covering your face or ears. So, you know, the airframes, the X-Fills, and the Wendy's are definitely the ones you see a lot of that, like, I guess, customization or something like that. You can put ear protection and face shields on some of these, like the Wendy's, probably the most, you know, meta one, because you can put the face shield and the ears, and you can still wear headphones, and you can kind of do the whole shebang. These helmets are upwards of 150,000 rubles, then the face shield, then the ears. You're definitely in crazy expensive territory. We have to remember almost all face shields take that rule of like helmets are normally a step down from your armor, and they do that again. So all these helmets, these class 4 helmets, these, you know, meta helmets have class 3 face shields. 762 PS, you can buy day 1 of the wipe, level 1 proper. It's got about 32 pen, which means most of the time, not always, most of the time it's going to pen that. So it's totally up to you if you want to spend, you know, 250,000 rubles on a helmet, ears, headphones, face shield on something that a scav or a player with the right, you know, a low-level player with the right ammo can still one-tap you. It's just, you just never know what's going to happen. But you can purchase these, the airframe, the Fast MT, and the Exfil. These are the top tier class 4 helmets because you can kind of do a bunch to them. It offers you the best protection. The honorable mention here is the ZSH. A lot of people overlook this helmet. You can't wear headphones with it, so you definitely miss that audio. And the Ricochet Chance steps down to a medium, but for much, much cheaper, you basically get the whole deal that an Exfil provides for you, which is class 4 protection around your head, ears, nape, all of that kind of stuff, and then class 3 protection on your face, eyes, and jaws. So you get this whole shebang for much, much cheaper. You can find these on scav bosses and therefore on the flea market for much cheaper. You can buy these at a lower ragman level for cheaper. So I like to use these sometimes if I'm on a budget or something like that and I'm just tired of dying. You can't wear the headphones, but if you're playing with a duo or something like that, you can move all the way up to the top. Something like an Alton, this is obviously something that you see that's pretty meta. You're in the class 5 helmet, class 5 face shield. This dramatically increases the survivability because you're going from 4 and 3 to 5 and 5. Now you really need good ammo to consistently pen this thing, but it definitely has its downsides. I absolutely cannot run Altons. I hate the vision impairment. I hate that I can't hear anything. I hate that it makes me feel like turning takes 10 extra swipes of my mouse. I can't do it, but there's no denying the survivability that it increases. The Risti or Rice-T, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, is a black version of this with even more durability. Same armor classes, but it's got 50 durability in the helmet and 55 in the face shield. Incredibly expensive, but a lot of people run these and you can find a whole lot of success to it. And then you got like the face masks. You know, I did a whole video on the Shattered Mask, which is basically a 15 or 20,000 ruble ways to just slap high Ricochet Chance on your face. And then the brand new Tagilla Mask, which is basically an Alton without it covering the back of your head, and it's all one piece. You get top, ears, eyes, jaws, class 5 helmet, high Ricochet Chance, protection against flash grenades. These are actually pretty insane as well. Just try not to get shot in the back of the head. So that's the spiel on helmets. I know you might have known a lot of this information. I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to expectations. Like we said earlier, some people oversimplify the ballistic system and don't understand the value a helmet can provide, or if it can provide any value at all. You know, anything can happen, which is what we say about Tarkov all the time, really cuts both ways. That means sometimes you'll round the corner and you'll see the pistol guy and you'll really wish you had spent the money on a helmet or a face shield because he was using terrible ammo. And it also means that you can spend hundreds of thousands of rubles on the best gear, see a scav with Magnum buckshot and get 2 taps to the legs, and it was all for nothing. But I think people really oversimplify some of the things and don't have the correct expectations on helmets. The ammos, we have to remember that these are percentages. You can absolutely get one tapped by an Alton, and a ULAC or even a class 3 helmet can absolutely either ricochet or absorb something like this from this round. So I kind of keep it in that zone where I try to keep enough helmets around that I can use them in almost every single raid without having to spend an insane amount of money on them. They have absolutely saved my life a ton of times. I am definitely like pro helmet in my playstyle. But at the end of the day, you can absolutely be successful either way. You just have to have the right expectations. So I hope this video helped. I hope it helped in breaking down how some of the ballistics work, how helmets work, and what the expectation you should have of them so that you can be even more confident in the decisions you make when you go out and have your raids in Escape from Tarkov. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to check out this video. If you liked the video, think about dropping a like, commenting down below, or subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Like we said before, I stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch. All my links will be down below. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey. And if you're looking for people to play Tarkov with, our Discord server is an awesome place to be. That link is down below as well. Thank you again for stopping by, and I will definitely see you all on the next one.